Hello there, welcome. This is InSeph here, and today we are here for another MUGEN guide. We are going to see how to create and add properly portraits for the characters. If you don't know what is a portrait, it's this image that all characters at least must have. Of course, this is the default portrait. There is some custom portraits for specifically screen packs, but for example in my case I'm using the default portrait. But when I say default, I mean this square right here. Some custom portraits have something like this. For example, it's just an image without any other information, and in the specifically screen pack it works correctly, but we are going to see just the default portrait. So before we start, it's important for you to make sure that you have the specifically tools that we are going to use it. In my case, I'm going to use the Photoshop tool, image editor as tool, but if you don't have the Photoshop, you can use any other image tool that have a specific function, which is the index color function. Okay, doesn't need to be specifically Photoshop software, but must have these. Okay, and if you don't have the Photoshop installed in your computer, there is a free online tool called Photopea that have almost the same features from the Photoshop. It's a bit different, but it's very similar, so you can try using this as well. Okay, but let's doing the Photoshop. Okay, the default portrait uses this resolution, this number and this other number, and it's more like a square, and as you can see it's a square. So I already have right here some images that I'm going to use as examples. I'm going to use Goku Super Saiyan Blue, and as you can see this is an image that we call render, and a render is basically an image that was probably extracted for some game or some image and doesn't have the background. So for example, if I add some layer with another color, as you can see it's transparent, so we have total we have only the image from the character without any effect. And I really recommend you to use these types of renders, because if we use an image with a background or some effect, the result may not look so good, but it will continue in work, but the result will not be so good. Just keep that in mind. But for my case, I'm going to use this Goku Super Saiyan. So I am just going to copy the entire image by clicking Ctrl A and select everything, and Ctrl C to copy. Let me just paste it right here. So this is our result basically. So for example, if you want to have this as portrait, just the eyes from Goku, you can just leave like this and you can jump to the next part. But usually I like to do some portraits like this. For example, I select the image, and right here I'm going to use this bicubic automatic for the interpolation, and right here to make sure that all the proportion of the image remains the same, because if I didn't use this, the image won't be relative to the original size. So by using this, we keep the same proportion and just reduce as a whole. So each image has a specific resolution, so a few ones we can just need to reduce a bit, but for some others image we need to reduce even more. But for this Goku, for example, I would say like this is a pretty good um, size. For example, we are going to use by using this 42. um, it's a good. So how do we know that our portrait is in a good size? Well, you just need to try it and see how it works best for you. But for example, I could leave like this. So it, as you can see, I try to make the eyes and the face in the center of the square so we can have a good um, alignment. So we are going to use this. Okay, of course you could do as a different, you could just reduce even more. For example, I really don't recommend, of course, but that's up to you. You can make just small portraits, but if your image already has a low quality, and if you reduce even more, you may lose even more quality. So I think this is the perfect scenario, so we can have proper vision for the character, for the portrait of him. So it's centered as well. For example, it's centered in the middle, basically something like this. And I of course could do this before and just put the image in the center, but that's I usually don't use this so much. So that's it, we have our designed portraits, and now how can we use it? I'm gonna just remove this. So I'm gonna save the project portrait, and from now on we can save as a PNG. Just for example, this is not the correct method, okay? PNG Goku. All right, so this version that we saved is the PNG Goku, which contains a transparent color but doesn't have a palette. So if you saw the last Mugen guide, you maybe remember the part of that if the image doesn't have a palette, will not work properly in the Fighter Factory and for the character file. So we just need to apply a palette into this image. But you may think, well, so I can just open in the Fighter Factory and do the same stuff that I did in the last video and create a palette, something like this, you may think. Well, I'm not going to say that this is wrong. For example, it's working. For example, this is the result. As you can see, we have the palette right here. So basically, if I want to change the hair for some reason, I could just select all the colors and change the hair. Of course, there's a lot of colors, so by selecting everything would take some time, but you get the point what I mean. You can do this. So as you can see, the white background doesn't appear right here because we put it in the first color position, so it became a transparent background. But if, for example, let me just save it again, because once we save the palette into the image, that palette became part of the image. So we need to create a new one. So for example, this one doesn't have the palette. For example, it uses the PNG, and if you take a look closely, you are going to see that, for example, this is the one with palettes, and this one is the one without palettes. It is a PNG version. So as you can see, there is a few differences in the quality. Maybe you not be able to see directly in the video because the video processed the image different from my perspective. So for the video you may not see the difference, but once you do in your project in real time, you are going to take a look and see the differences, because, well, the first image uses this amount of colors. It's limited to this amount of colors. The PNG version doesn't have limits, and the colors look more good. And if I add, for example, a shadow right here, There's a simple way to make shadows in Photoshop. It's by using these advanced properties. I'm going to just to add this, and it's pretty simple as you can see. So let me just save it again and Goku PNG, actually PNG Goku shadow. Okay, this is the shadow version, and if I add again, for example, the version with shadow, uh, okay, this is the shadow version. As you can see, there's a shadow right here. But if I try to make this, if I try to see the palette, as you can see, it won't work because it doesn't have any palette. And if I want to use the version with shadow, for example, it will become this. We'll have this result. Let me add again. So we are going to have this result. As you can see, the shadow became just a black colors. That's the result with when the image with transparent colors have a palette applied. So basically, as you can see, we added the palette directly using the Fighter Factory. This is a possibility, okay, but I usually do not do this. I add the palette directly in the Photoshop. Okay, so what we need to do, we can go to the image mode and index color, and there's a few options right here. I always use this local selective. I think that's the best result, but you can try others options. I really don't recommend. I think this is the best one, the one that was first selected, local selective. And of course there's a few other options right here, and basically you can just leave as these options. If you want to explore, of course, that's up to you. Just make sure to have these options selected and need to apply the index color. Okay, and now we just need to save as a new file. I'm going to use the option save as, and we need to use the pcx file. Okay, to be honest, I didn't test it with other files. I never used other files. I always uses this version. Okay, but if this doesn't work, or if you want to try with other file type, keep in mind that you can also do the palettes directly to by using the Fighter Factory. Okay, so I'm going to just save as Goku, and now we are going to add this one as a group. Okay, so we have now the default portrait for him, and if we compare the first this one, for example, was the one created by the Fighter Factory, and this one was created by the Photoshop. So even if both are indexed, as you can see, each one has a method of indexing images. I think the Photoshop has a better results, but of course that's subjective for you. As you can see right here in the Fighter Factory version, we have some, I don't know how to say these, but it's not so good visually. And right here in the Photoshop version, we have more fluid colors, doesn't look so wrong, and that's how I see it. So for example, let me just open another project, and usually the portraits are located in a specifically group and a specifically index. In most of cases is this group and this index. So we just need to add an image if it doesn't have, or we can just switch to the image that we want. So for example, if I want to use the Goku portrait in this Vegeta, I could just add the image right here. okay, and save it. Of course I will not save, but now I example without the group, so we just need to add by using this option to add more sprites. We need to specify the group and the index and the positions if you want. So I'm going to use this group, this index, the positions. So we just need to press OK. And so now we can save it. And let me just add this project in the MUGEN. So that's the result in the game. As you can see, it contains the black borders right here. The portrait is its alignment to the screen pack. That's because we use this alignment. So it's important to make sure that the alignment is also 0 and 0, okay? So that's how make proper portraits for MUGEN characters. From now on, I'm going to share some tips for you to make even better portraits. Of course, that's my opinion. I don't like so much these transparent portraits. As you can see in the Academy, we have this background and we have the Academy logo, and there's a border right here in the image, of course, and also there's a filter in the image, and that's the difference. So if you compare both, you will notice some different filters as well. So there is template right here in the Fighter Factory InSeph version. Right here in ref files, you're going to have these portraits templates, and I already added some references for you. So basically we have two line guides right here, and as you can see, the first line means the top of the head, and the second line means this part of the head. I don't know how to I don't know the name of this part, okay? And that's a reference, of course, for having to have a better alignment to everyone. So during the random select, you will see all characters aligning to the center and not so randomly positioned, you know what I mean? So they will be in the center. That's not the case for Chad because, well, he doesn't have the rest of the image, so we just need to, I tried to the best as I could, okay? So as you can see, we have this background, which is like a cube, and you can deactivate it or not if you want. Of course, we have a border right here, and well, we have these as examples. So if you wanted to use just without borders and background, you can just select it and do that process again to index, and save as a new file. It's important that you always save as a new file, because if you save it as a current file, you are going to lose the progress if you have like a lot of characters. For example, if I would do a portrait for the Academy, that's how I would do it. So I have some renders right here to use. Let me just, so for example, if I would do the Goku Super Saiyan for Academy, I would do something like this. So I already have the background right here, the add-ons, that means these borders and the Academy logo, and also these filters that is already pre-configured. So I just need to apply the image right here and resize to the correct something like this, I would say. Also, I usually takes this layer style and apply to the image to add some more shadows. As you can see, it adds some shadow, and now you just need to apply the index and the save as PCX, okay? And we do a Control Z, actually it's Control Alt and Z in Photoshop, to make sure that we don't lost the other progresses, okay? That's how I do. And now we just need to add in the character the Goku Super Saiyan, okay, and save it. Okay, and that's the result. As you can see, it's like the academy style with the borders and stuffs like the academy characters. That's how we do. And there's an important bug issue that you may uh, have during your projects. It's when a palette have a duplicated index. So for example, if both palettes have the same group and index right here, the fighter factor will consider the first one in the position for the image. Okay, so make sure to your portrait uses a unique palette group to prevent these issues. This also happens to the sprites itself, so just keep in mind if it somehow your image became, you know, with colors messed, and that's probably the case. So if this is a palette that is not being used, we just need to remove and make sure that our sprite slash portraits uses their own palette. For this case is this one. Okay, and that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you have any questions related to the video or any other Mugen guide so far, please leave a comment, and I hope to see you in the next video. See ya.